Hello, welcome to the live stream. Today we're going to be going over how to boost flexibility for the legs. So this is going to be a follow along stretching session. So you should be doing this with me. If you have questions, let me know in the chat and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. If you're watching this after the fact, let me know in the comments and I'll try and answer those as soon as I see them. So we're going to be focusing in on the muscles in the legs. So that starts all the way from the hips downwards, down into the feet, or down into the calf. So what we're going to start with is a stretch on the floor called a runner stretch. These stretch the muscles in the front of your hips and thigh. I have this muscle group called the iliopsoas, runs right across the front attaches up at your hips, down into the top of your thigh. So to do that, we're going to go into a kneeling position. And from here, you're going to push your hips forward till you feel a stretch in the front of your back leg. And then you're going to hold this position for 30 seconds. So you should feel it right in the front of your hip. It's called the runner stretch because it's sort of like you're a runner getting ready to start a race. But we're keeping our upper body upwards instead of kneeling forward because that keeps that stretch right here in the front of the hip. You might feel it down into your thigh as well. If one of your quad muscles is a little bit tighter than the others, you could feel it in one of them because it actually attaches right up here as well. Just a constant stretch on this. A lot of times this can get tight, especially if you're in a seated position a lot. It can shorten on you somewhat, and actually it can get short and weak. So we want to not only stretch it, but we can work at strengthening the muscles in your hips to help support healthy hip function. I find though that adding the extra bit of flexibility really helps keep this muscle pliable and able to move so it doesn't seize up on me. I've had this cramp before. It is the worst feeling to have a hip flexor cramp. It is so painful, or it's so uncomfortable. So none of these stretches should be painful. We're only going to where you feel tension but no pain. So you should feel it pulling, but if it hurts, back off a little bit. We don't want to actually tear or damage any of the muscles. So now we're going to do a hamstring stretch, which are the muscles that run along the back of your thigh. So for this, still in a kneeling position, you're going to put your front leg straight as you can. And then from here, you're going to bring your chest forward, feeling a stretch in the back of your thigh, all the way from your hip down to the back of the knee. And hold that stretch for 30. This is a very common muscle for people to have tight. Now you don't want to round your back to get down towards your toe. You want to bring your chest straight forward. So we're stretching it both the hip and the knee. This muscle actually attaches up at the hip and all the way down past the knee. So it's functioning at two joints. So that's why we're stretching it at both joints by keeping the hips back and not rounding the back. And same thing on the other side. So one foot out to the front, straight as you can. If you're a little bit bent in your knee, that's okay. If you can't quite get it straight, that's fine. Just go to where you feel tension. If you're able to, straightening that knee will increase the amount of stretch you get in the hamstring. So straight as you can, bringing your chest forward, feeling a stretch in the back of your thigh, right across. You might feel it a little bit on the inside too, but mostly in the back of that thigh. These muscles wrap around just a little bit across the back. It's actually 3 muscles primarily for the hamstrings, but it's easier to call them as one muscle group of the hamstrings because they all do more or less the same thing. They all bend at the knee or bend your knee backwards and extend the hip. So pulling that way with the hip. Might feel a little tighter on one side than the other. That is okay. Sometimes we have those asymmetries. We're not quite the same on our left and right side. If you think about it, even your heart is not symmetrical. It's actually angled to one side. So most of our body actually has a little bit of asymmetry to it. All right, now we're going to do a deep lunge or a deep side lunge stretch. These are for the muscles on the inside of your thigh. So you're going to go into a kneeling position, put one leg out to the side. This is the leg that we're going to be stretching. We're stretching those inside adductor muscles. This is great if you want to start working on your split depth, like doing the full splits. Doing one leg at a time is a great place to start, where you can slowly work your way into full splits. So you're going to bend down, trying to push your leg down towards the ground. Think about your knee going downward into the ground until you feel that stretch on the inner part of your thigh. If you need to, you can put your hands on the ground or put your hands on your hips, whatever feels more comfortable. And hold that stretch. Again, this is a great place to start if you want to work on your splits, where it's a little easier, where you can do one leg at a time, working up to that full splits. Especially if you can't get very low, where you can't reach the ground. This still gives you support where you can control that stretch. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat or in the comments, and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. Do we have anyone here that can actually do the full splits? Curious. Like, I can't. I haven't been able to do that in quite a while. I'm working back to that, but I lost a lot of that flexibility. There was a period of time when I was training in martial arts where I was stretching about an hour every day. And that was the only time I was able to do splits. It took so much work to maintain that flexibility. And then as soon as I stopped doing it, I stopped training for that, I lost that flexibility pretty quickly. That's a pretty extreme level of flexibility, I think, though. What I would do is, that was back when I was in school, when I was doing math homework, I'd actually have my book out in front of me and my homework, and then just hold a V-sit position. I'll show you that in just a little bit. We'll cover that stretch. On this one, it's important your foot's pointed towards the front. So if your foot's pointed up like this, you'll get more of that hamstring stretch. If it's pointed forward, you'll get more of those adductors, the muscles on the inside of your thigh. All right. I'm going to move this down just a little bit. So now what we're going to do is the muscles on the outside of the leg. So what you're going to do is lay on your back, and from here you're going to bring your knee up and then over and across your body. So this is my right leg and I'm pulling it towards the left. So you should feel a stretch across the side of your leg and hip, stretching those adductors of the hip, and then hold. A lot of people miss this stretch, and it can actually, if it gets tight, it can tighten up over the nerve in here, cause a lot of discomfort. So we're keeping that flexible and pliable so it doesn't compress down on that nerve. So for some people, this can actually help relieve sciatic pain, that sciatic nerve that runs through here. It's important to have your knee up at waist height or above though. Don't have it way down here, have it up and to the side. And same thing other side. Pulling up and then to the side. So again, stretching those adductor muscles. Very common that people don't work as much on these. Some people maintain their flexibility through weightlifting or resistance training, but I find very rarely do people work on their gluteus medius muscle and these internal hip flexor muscle, or not hip flexor, hip adductor muscles. And so they can get tight. And then the hips get tight with them. So now what we're going to do is a V-sit. Gluteus medius is a sack of bologna. Huh. I mean, bologna is a muscle. It's a ground up muscle. Hopefully your gluteus medius isn't ground up. So we're going to do a V-sit now. So you're going to sit with both feet out to the side. One hand over the top of the other, reaching towards the middle, feeling a stretch on the inside of your thigh. You'll probably feel this more down towards the knee. There's some muscles that attach up at the hip and then go all the way down to the inner part of the knee. And then try and hold that stretch, reaching out to the front. Again, this is those adductor muscles, but this one I find gets more of that adductor magnus, where it's the really long one all the way down to the inner part of the leg. These actually come up and attach into the front of your hips, same place where your abs attach, or right next to your abs. So holding that stretch. Excuse me. And relax. And then bring your feet in together. We're going to do a butterfly stretch. So you're going to bring your feet in and then grab both of your feet and try and push down with your elbows, pushing onto your knees. You should feel a stretch a little higher up into the hip with this one. Stretching that inner thigh. So in this one, we're doing a held stretch. So we're not, one second, let me see your question. Tips for tension in the front and side of the hips. Yeah, here, I will get you a stretch for that in just a moment. Are you saying that it's in the front and side, or sort of right in here, or more in this area right here? Ninja de Groot. So for in the front of the hips, right in here, something that can help is a runner stretch, where you push forward into that stretch, trying to keep your upper body as straight as you can, so you're feeling a stretch right in here at the front of your hip. So where it's the front and this side. And then something you could even do is come a little bit across. So you're stretching into that front and then some in the side as well, where you're doing a runner where you cross midline with that foot. And then you can even lean away a little bit to make that stretch a little more profound. So going here, crossed, and lean away a little bit. Though if you're having it in the front, you might try a IT band or a TFL stretch, What you could do, hang on a moment. So I'm going to show with a stretch strap, but you could do this with a towel too. So what you're going to do is wrap this around your foot, and then opposite hand is the foot, pulling over and across, feeling a stretch on the outside of that hip, trying to keep your knee straight. So this is stretching all the way across in that IT band. And then hold for 30 seconds. So you could do this just as easily with the towel. The stretch strap is nice because it has handles. This one's an OPTP, hang on a moment. OPTP stretch strap. They're not sponsored or anything. I bought this with my own money. I just find it's really useful for stretches like this. You've got a nice loop in it where you can grab onto it really easily. And holding for 30 seconds. You might feel this all the way down to the knee, but you'll definitely feel it in the front. The muscle runs right across the front and actually wraps around to the side as well, so where it connects into that iliotibial band of connective tissue. All right, so now we're going to stretch the quads, which run right across the front of the thigh. You go all the way from the top of the hip down into the kneecap. So you're going to lay down on your side, reach around, grab your ankle, and then pull up to the back. Oh, good. I'm glad that worked for you. Excellent. And yeah, the IT band, sometimes that can shorten. It's a little muscle that actually pulls on a piece of connective tissue that it's sort of like a case around your thigh. So as that tightens, you can feel it all through that area. And so helping stretch it can actually loosen it up. It's amazing how just a small muscle like that can make a big difference though. And same thing on the other side. Reaching around, grabbing your ankle, pulling up to the back, feeling the stretch in your knee, in the front of your knee, front of your thigh. And again, all these should feel relaxing. If anything hurts, back off a little bit from it. Don't pull on it so hard. If it still hurts, maybe that's not the stretch for you. You might have something maybe even torn or damaged. Just be careful. We don't want to do anything that's causing you pain. So now what we're going to do is, for these muscles out here on the outside of the hip, you're going to put one leg out in front, one leg over and across your knee, and then you're going to hug your knee in towards your chest, feeling a stretch in this bent leg on the outside. So hugging in towards your chest and hold. You should feel that deep in that hip socket right in here on this leg. And same thing on the other side. Hugging in and across. getting pretty hot here. How's it where you guys are at? Is anyone else having to deal with the heat? Probably going to have a little bit shorter of a session today because it is getting pretty warm. And relax. All right, we're going to do a standing stretch next. So what you're going to do, we're going to do a squat stretch. So you're going to stand with your feet nice and wide, leaning back against the wall. So back against the wall, and you're going to bend your knees down to what I like to call a horseback riding stance. This is what we called it in martial arts. It's where your knees are nice and wide, pushed out. You're going to bend down, put your elbows on the inside of your knee, and then push out, feeling a stretch deep in those hips. Right in here, these muscles attach into your hips and into your thigh. Just pushing down and out. Now, if you need to, you can sit down on a chair and do this. It's a little uncomfortable to be sort of seated against the wall. You can do this in a chair, just have your feet nice and wide. That's fine too. Holding that stretch. And stand up. All right. So now we're going to do another hamstring stretch. So this one we're going to do standing though. So for this you'll need a stool, a chair, anything you can put your foot up on that's not going to move around on you. So what you're going to do is lift your foot up, prop it up onto a chair or anything that's not going to fall out from under you. And then from here, you're going to stand straight and tall, try and straighten that knee, feeling a stretch in the back of your thigh. If you need to increase the stretch, you can bring your chest a little bit forward towards your toe. Now make sure you don't round forward. You want to keep your back straight and go chest out towards the front like you're reaching straight, not down towards your toe, reaching out towards the front, okay? Let's actually do that with the hands. And then hold that stretch there. And same thing on the other side. Bring your foot up. If you don't have something you can prop your foot up on, you can also do this seated. You can actually show that one. That one's a good one too. You can do this seated like this. And then same thing, reaching out, straight out to the front. Don't reach down to the toe. Reach out over the top of your foot. So this leg is just to keep it out of the way and hold that stretch. This is called a sit and reach. It's not a very creative name, but I didn't name it. It is descriptive though, at least. What would you guys call this stretch? I feel like it's not super. Jacob says, you're a legend. Hey, thank you. Stravagler says, Jesus loves you. Very true. Yep. Jacob Him says, I love Jesus. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, now we're going to do a quad stretch. This is a little bit different of one. It's a back arch quad stretch. So you're going to grab onto your ankles and then lean back and then walk your hands back to where you're supported. You should feel a stretch in the front of your thigh. If this is too hard on your toes, then you can put a pillow or something underneath your foot, but try and stretch out those quads. These muscles run right across the front of your thigh here, and then hold that position. And find this gets more up into the hip, or that quad that attaches all the way up at the top of the hip. Really gets a stretch in this exercise. And relax. All right. So we're gonna call it a day there. Thank you everyone for being here. Hope to see you guys next time, where we're going to be going over more stretching. So if you're interested in gaining flexibility or looking for other fitness questions, let me know. And if you could, hit that subscribe button for me, and that'll help the channel grow and let me know that this is something you guys are interested in seeing. So see you guys next time.